junior and senior level class. So great story though. A lot of heartache and triumph and decision points, and so I think you're really going to enjoy it. Lathay owns John Tom's Barbecue Sauce. How many of you have had John Tom's? Maybe you did and you didn't realize it.
They don't even know it.
Eaten in North Dining. Most of you probably, right? So yeah, you probably had it. So now you know. All right. Are we good on the poll here? Good? Because I'm going to turn it over to Lathay. All right, so be good hosts, and I think you're going to enjoy Lathay. All right.
Test. Is this on? Hello. You guys hear me? I'm gonna bypass this podium. I'll walk around too much, so I can't just stay behind the podium. How you guys doing this morning? We're good? All right. So I didn't look around when he asked who's had John Tom's. Anybody heard of John Tom's barbecue? Okay. So North Dining, you guys, everybody eating in there? You know the barbecue restaurant that's in there? You know the barbecue sauce that has the pumps, and that's me. So now, how many have had John Tom's barbecue? All right, okay. Well, we need to change that. My name is Lathay Pegues. I am originally from Muncie, Indiana. I graduated from Muncie Central High School, home of the Bearcats, basketball powerhouse. Hasn't been as of lately, but we got the history. I did not go to Ball State, okay? I went to every time your president sees me, he makes it a point to tell me I went to that other school down the road. Went to Indiana University to major in broadcast journalism. The reason I did not go to Ball State, because I definitely could have had a great career in journalism, telecommunications, with the Ball State degree, but I simply wanted to get away from home, like a lot of people from Muncie back then. So I decided to go to Indiana University and major in broadcast journalism. When I was in high school, I kind of knew that is what I wanted to do for a living. And so I went to pursue that at IU. Never thought in a million years I would be an entrepreneur selling something. I actually did not like salespeople. It's like, quit trying to sell me stuff. Never would have considered myself a salesperson until I got into entrepreneurship. I have a crazy journey, much like a lot of people who may have started a career and then realized later in life that they wanted to go into the world of entrepreneurship. Can I share my journey with you? Because it's kind of wild, okay? So anyway, John Tom, who is that? John Tom is a real person. He's my grandpa. And I grew up very close to my grandpa. My father lived in California for most of my childhood. So John Tom Branson was my father figure, and I spent significant time with him. Who was John Tom? John Tom was born in Madison County, Mississippi. He had, I think, 11 siblings. It was a lot of them. And they all moved north during the Great Migration, when African Americans were leaving the South and moving north to find better opportunities and get out of Jim Crow South. And so my entire family moved this way, and they landed in Indiana. They first landed in Indianapolis, and then a lot of them moved to Muncie because there were a lot of factory jobs, and that's what they did for a living. My grandpa brought with him to Indiana this love for barbecue. He was a barbecue connoisseur. He was a pit master, uncertified, but this was back when, barbecue wasn't trendy, right? It was a skill. It was an art that you had to spend time with someone who knew what they were doing to learn how to really smoke meat. My grandpa had done that. Also, he created a barbecue sauce. If you have smoked meat, you need a barbecue sauce to go with it. And so when I was little, I spent a lot of time with him, as I said. On the weekends, he worked in a factory, but on the weekends, and definitely after he retired, he would barbecue and sell dinners out of his home. I never forget, I was little, I was probably about 8 years old, and I sit and watched one summer. He had a huge slab of concrete poured on the side of his home, and I watched as he and two other guys built this enormous brick smoker, brick by brick. I sit and watched that. It took him a few days. And once he built that, he really upped his barbecue dinner sales out of his home. So my grandpa was known around Muncie. He was one of the known barbecue guys, the big barbecue guys in Muncie, and you can get a good barbecue dinner from him on the weekends. And so when he would go to the stores when I was little, I'd go with him. I've been there when he bought his ingredients for his barbecue sauce. So I was kind of, it was being instilled in me, little did I know, but I was kind of born in this barbecue family, like he did it for sport. Well, when I was 11, John Tom passed away. My grandpa was gone. And I can clearly remember the day when somebody brought it up. Daddy didn't leave his recipe. So it's gone. He never wrote it down. Took it to the grave with him. So I'm going to IU, and I would spend my summers at IU. I'd go to summer school, and what we did all summer at IU is we grilled out. Somebody was grilling every weekend. So one weekend, I was grilling, and I decided, something popped in my head. Try to make your grandpa's barbecue sauce. I don't know why, just popped in my head. Now, I knew most of the ingredients, we just didn't have a formula. So I called my aunties, I said, hey, guess what I'm about to do? I'm about to try to make Daddy's barbecue sauce. Really? I said, yeah, here's what I got. Am I missing anything? So they filled in the gaps. Well, he put this in and okay, I wrote it down. So I went to the store, I buy all these ingredients, I come home, I get my pot out, I start pouring ingredients. It was disgusting. And I didn't want to accept it. But my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, we just celebrated 22 years on the 7th. I can clap it up for that. It's a long time. She said, baby, that's nasty. And I said, no, it just needs to sit for a little bit. I'll just put it in the cabinet, let it marinate. That's get the ingredients working. It'd be all right. So I came back to it about a month later. It was still nasty. But that sparked something. And as a hobby, I started trying to make or recreate my grandpa's barbecue sauce. Just something that I enjoyed doing. So I graduated from IU, went on to start my broadcast career. I went for broadcast journalism. I never forget the day. First, I got to tell you, I struggled through school a little bit. I struggled through college. But I got through. And there was one class that I needed to finish. And as a journalism major, they made us take a little bit of everything. So we used to have this saying that a news reporter's knowledge is a mile long and an inch deep, right? Which we can talk to you about a little bit about anything. So they made us take everything. So I had like this geology class or something. I had no idea what this guy was saying on my first day of class. And so I go up to the instructor on the first day, and I said, look, I'm a journalism major. I have to take this class. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Like, it's all going over my head, the term, everything. I'm not going to make it in this course. He made a deal with me. Don't come to class. Read your textbook. Write a paper on the textbook. Whatever grade I give you on that paper, that'll be your grade for the class. Deal. Okay. So knowing that, and he didn't put a time on it. So knowing that, I kind of put it off, right? Now, by this time, my girlfriend and I, we have a son. She's my wife now. We have a son. And so it finally hits me. I'm like, Lathay, you need to make a decision what you're going to do. You got one class standing between you and graduation and you starting your career. So at the time, I'm working at the bank full time. So I finally decide, get this paper done. So I get it done. I go turn it in. I get a B minus, and I pass the class. So now I can graduate. So I graduate. I'm still working at the bank, and now I'm just working at the bank full time. Well, it came time, and the reason I'm telling you this story is because little did I know I would be in this position a lot more later down my journey. So I'm working at this bank. I'm in Bloomington. I've been down there forever. Now it looks like I'm starting a life in Bloomington, which I didn't figure I'd do. And I'm working at the bank. And I remember it was a Friday night, and I had to work at the bank Saturday morning. And I didn't want to go. Why? Because I was over it. I didn't want to work at the bank anymore. But I have a girlfriend, and I have a son. But I'm ready to start looking to start my career. So I get up, and I'm watching this documentary Friday night. It was on like Dizzy Gillespie or something. And whatever it was about, it resonated with me that I need to go ahead and get the ball rolling on getting my career started. So I get up, I go into the bank, and I tell my boss I need to talk to her. I was clearly not dressed for work. And so we go in her office, and I tell her, I'm done. I'm sorry to do this to you. I know I'm supposed to work today, but I got to get started on my career. And I feel like I just need to just quit and focus on that. She totally understood. So I got the ball rolling. So I'm going to say a few terms that I know you're not familiar with, okay, because of my age. So I started getting my resume tape together. And what a resume tape was, it's a reel of stories, broadcast stories I had done, and you put them on this VHS tape, and you send that in the mail with a resume, and you send it to news stations, and they get your VHS tape and stick it in the VCR. I'm saying a lot of terms y'all are not familiar with, huh? Stick it in the VCR, and they watch you and see if they like what they see, okay? So this is my focus. I have time to do that now. So I send these tapes out. I'm still thinking like, yeah, this is a dream job. This is probably not gonna happen, but I'm gonna send them out anyway. And so one night, my girlfriend, myself, and my son, we had to go to Walmart, a store run. And we get back home, and here's another term you don't know. There's an answering machine. We have an answering machine. You guys have voicemail now. We had an answering machine, which was a physical box machine that was hooked to your phone. And when someone left a message, it blinked. A light would blink. So if you had two messages, it blinked twice, okay? So it's blinking once. So I go push it. Hey, I think I'm saying this right, Lathay. This is Les Sachs from WGEM News in Quincy, Illinois. We just got your resume tape. We just looked at it. We love what we see. We'd like you to give us a call, see if you'd be interested in coming down for an interview. I'm like, this is really happening. I just got a call to be on someone's news, work at someone's news station. And so I get up, I call them. Can you be here tomorrow? Yeah. I had no idea I was getting there, but I'll work it out. Yeah, I'll be there. So we get up, I borrow my aunt's car, come back to Muncie, borrow my aunt's car, and we head to Quincy, Illinois, and I interview for the job, and they offer it to me after the interview. So now I am a full-fledged news reporter, TV news reporter, and I spent about 5 years there, worked my way up to become weekend anchor. And as far as I was satisfied, I'm good. This is the career I wanted. I've started my career. I'm working my way up the ranks, and we're good. Well, what happened was, when I was still in Bloomington, this recipe, right? Remember I tried it, it was nasty. It was a challenge, like, no, I can do this. So what I would do is I would get up on weekends and I would try this recipe again. Well, I carried that from Bloomington to Quincy, Illinois. So this is what I would do. And I would step away from it for a couple months, but I would get up Saturday mornings, if I didn't have to work, go to the kitchen, turn on my jazz, batch number 3, and I'd go at it all day. Step away from it, come back maybe a month later, batch number 4. This went on for almost 5 years, the whole time I was in Quincy. Because it was just fun to me, and I was really trying, like, I can crack this code on my grandpa's sauce. So over those years, what started happening is I kind of went off-roading, because through my, trying to figure out this recipe and all the research I was doing on barbecue sauce, I was onto something. It wasn't my grandpa's, but I was onto something. So I was like, I'm gonna just stay on this road. So about 4.5 years into that, I developed this sauce, which some of you have probably had. It's the John Tom's Original. I developed this sauce, and it's good to me, but I also thought the first batch was good too, which it wasn't. So I was like, I need some people to taste this. And I need some people to taste this unprompted. I want them to say something about this sauce unprompted. I need some organic reactions. So I picked the weekend, and I invited my coworkers over. And it was about 12 of them from the newsroom. So they come over, I've grilled all this meat, I put it on the table, and I put this ball jar of my sauce with a spoon in it on the table. And I was like, eat up. I walked over to the corner and did this, grabbed me a seat. 10 minutes go by, nobody saying nothing. I'm like, God, somebody say something. I don't want to tell them this is my sauce, because then, I want somebody to say something. So they're milling. Nobody's saying a word. So there's this Northwestern intern, and her name was Sumi Somaskanda. And Sumi was a vegetarian. And Sumi was standing in the kitchen with a plate of plain Lay's potato chips and my sauce to dip it in. So she was getting full flavor. Finally, Sumi said something. Lathay, what kind of barbecue sauce is this? Like, this is the best barbecue sauce I've ever had. Where can I buy this? I ain't say anything. So everyone else start chiming in. So now I'm getting the reaction I wanted. Yeah, where can I get this, man? This is good. So I said, look, let you guys in on something. I invited you over, not because I like you. I invited you over because I was doing an experiment. And they're like, what? I said, I created that barbecue sauce. I made that. No, seriously, dude, where'd you get this from? Like, where can I buy it? I said, I made this sauce. They didn't believe me. So I said, babe, tell him. She said, he has been working on this barbecue sauce for years. That is his barbecue sauce. And they were like, dude, if you don't do something with this barbecue sauce one day, you're nuts. I'm like, do what with it? I just created a barbecue sauce for fun. Like, I was trying to create my grandpa's and it didn't happen. But I created this. Do something with that one day. As I said, as far as I was concerned, I'm good. I'm in my career, what I wanted to do. 5 years into that job, I get another job in Milwaukee. And I'm like, man, I'm moving up, because where I was, Quincy, Illinois, that's like market 132, right? It's a small market TV station. Milwaukee is like market 35. So I'm like jumping the ranks, right? And I'm like, okay, my career is really, I'm doing it now. And so I get this job in Milwaukee. I get to Milwaukee, move my family there. Now I'm married and we have 2 kids. And so while I'm there, I was like, I want to make a different flavor because I like spicy stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna make a spicy barbecue sauce. So I took the one I already created, tweaked it a little bit, added some hot stuff in there, and I started calling it Sneaky Hot. I got that name from my grandpa because he had a sauce he called Sneaky Hot. So now I have 2 flavors. And I would just make it and hand it out to neighbors when I made it. They give me empty mayonnaise jars. I'd fill it up, give it to them, right? It's just a hobby. 2 years into that job, our general manager walks in the newsroom. Never saw him in the newsroom the whole time I worked there. And rumors had been flying that something was about to happen. So he walks in the newsroom and said, look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. You guys are losing your jobs. We're shutting down the news operations. So I'm sitting in this meeting. I have a wife and 2 kids. I'm making good money, good benefits, and you're telling me I'm about to lose all of that. Well, the bad thing that was going on with that and receiving that news at the time is I was a little burnt out on TV news. I was over it. So now I'm like, okay, I gotta support my family, so that means I gotta make a resume tape, send those out, and there's no telling where we're gonna end up, across the country somewhere. I was exhausted and I didn't feel like that. So, this barbecue sauce. People have been telling me, do something with this barbecue sauce. Now this is back in 2006, right? What am I about to do with this barbecue sauce? So I started researching. Where can I make it? Where do you get bottles from? Where do you get shrink bands? Where do you get the nutrition information that's on every product? Like, I'm researching just to see, like, is this possible? The more I'm researching, I'm finding out absolutely it's possible. Because at that time, shared kitchen and kitchen incubators are starting to pop up, where they will take my recipe, show me how to produce that in like a 40-gallon batch instead of a little pot. Not only that, they're USDA certified, so if I make it there, I'm making it legally so that I could sell to the masses. And I'm like, oh, these places exist? This might be possible. Okay, where do I get bottles? So I'm living in Milwaukee where there are bottle blowers everywhere. Okay, there are companies I can buy bottles from. Where do I get UPC codes? I'm investigating all this stuff. So then I had to come up with this plan. Okay, how do I make this work? Only way I knew to make this work was move back to Muncie, move my family back to Muncie, move in with my mom, and start this barbecue sauce business. Only all of this, I was making this up in my head by myself. I wasn't sharing this with anybody, okay? So there's one thing I gotta do. I gotta bring this up to my wife. So I said, babe, I need to talk to you. Here's what I've been thinking. I'm burnt out on TV news. I don't want to uproot us and move us across the country somewhere. Here's my plan. What do you think if we move to Muncie, because she's from here too. We move back to Muncie, we move in with my mom, and I start a barbecue sauce business. And with no hesitation, surprisingly, my wife said, let's do it. I said, are you serious? She said, let's do it. Huh, that's all I needed. Once I got her blessing, now I'm really investigating this thing. How do I make this work? So one night, my cousin calls me. We share the same grandpa. He's a little younger than me. He went to IU as well, and he's now living in Orlando, and he's working for a marketing firm. He was marketing major. So I said, cuz, here's what I'm about to do. So I told him my plan. He said, cuz, do you need help? I said, absolutely, I need help. He said, I'm on board. So we start formulating ideas, and I said, hold up. If we're really gonna do this, there's one more person I wanna add to this mix. And this was my best friend, Rodney, from IU. And we pledged the same fraternity, we pledged together. I was president, he was vice president. He has a business degree, and I knew his work ethic. And I was like, I want Rodney on our team. And so I called Rodney. I lay it out to Rodney. Rodney's like, what? Barbecue sauce? Is there any money in that? And I'm like, bruh, yeah, there is. If we do it right, there is. So we were coming up on our 10-year anniversary for our fraternity, and we were meeting out in Miami. So Rodney said, bring some of that sauce to Miami because I'm not agreeing to something I haven't even tasted it. I may hate it. It's okay. So I pack up this jar of barbecue sauce. That's back when you can put barbecue sauce on your carry-on bag and get on a plane. See, y'all don't know about that. But I put this barbecue sauce in my carry-on, and I take it to Miami. And one day, it was about 8 of us that showed up for the trip. I reached down and pulled this jar of barbecue sauce out of my bag, and they're like, dude, what is that? And I said, it's barbecue sauce, check it out. So one of my sayings, take the top off, sticks his finger in it, taste it. Another one, stick their finger, this pre-COVID, stick their finger in it, taste it, and they're passing this around. I look at Rodney, and he's doing the exact same thing I was doing when I invited my coworkers over. He's sitting in the corner, observing. He wants to see everybody else's reaction. So everybody is going nuts over this sauce. So Rodney finally steps up and was like, man, let me try that. So he sticks his finger in it, tastes it, leans over to me, hey, I'm in. Now we've got our team. So I'm still in Milwaukee, and the days are dwindling to where we got to move back to Muncie because we're losing our jobs, right? So we do. We pick up, we move back to Muncie, we move in with my mom, and at this time we're getting ready for our first event, which we chose was Indiana Black Expo. We're gonna be in an exposition hall, and that's where we're gonna introduce our sauce for the very first time to the masses. And our plan was we weren't even gonna sell the sauce. We're just gonna have it for people to taste, and we want their reaction just to see if they like it. Rodney, with his business background, nope, we're selling it. If we're gonna be there doing that and we have product, why wouldn't we sell it? So we're like, okay, Rodney, good point, we're gonna sell it. So we get to the Indiana Black Expo, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We get to Sunday morning and we are totally out of sauce. We've sold everything we had except 1 bottle of each flavor. And I was like, fellas, we got a product. The 2 bottles we had left, it turned into a live auction at our booth. Someone was like, well, sell me those. We can't. They're just on display. These are our last bottles from, a sentimental first run. We got to keep these. I'll give you $40 for them. Then somebody else, I'll give you $50. They're really turning this into an auction. And we were like, we're not selling these bottles. But we walked away from that knowing we have a product that would sell. So we're happy. We're on top of the world. We know we have a product. It's gonna sell. People love it. Okay, now what? We don't have an account. We're not in stores. We don't even know how to go about getting an account or to get on store shelves. So after that honeymoon was over, it's like, okay, now what do we do? So we start trunk hustling. Anybody know what trunk hustling is? We're selling out of our cars to anybody who would listen to us and pay $5 a bottle for. And that's what we were doing. Friends, families. I had to get my mom, I go over her house, she got Sweet Baby Ray in the fridge. I'm like, Mom, really? I moved back to start a barbecue, saying, this is what we're doing? Okay. I think she thought I was crazy for what I did. You've been on TV every day and you're back here trying to start a barbecue sauce? Oh, okay. So we start trunk hustling. One day, Rodney is shooting pool at a billiards place in Indianapolis and came up with the bright idea to go talk to the chef and see if he's interested. Well, into that conversation, the chef was like, I'd use you guys. You have this in gallons? We're like, no. No, we just have these little bottles. So we had to go find gallon jugs to put this sauce in, to sell to this billiards place. Now at the time, we got an account. Like that was our first account, which wasn't much. So here's where things start getting a little murky and reality starts to sit in on my part. Because I'm not working. We lost our jobs. We've started this company. They're not making any money, really. And my severance is running out. And I'm like, okay. I had a wife, 2 kids, live with my mom, no income. Lathay, what the hell did you just do? In reality set in real heavy on my chest. What did you just do to your family? And I remember one night sitting in my mom's recliner and I'm watching my kids play in the floor. And I feel like the biggest failure. I am failing my kids. Lathay, what did you do? And the tears just start falling. So I get up and I go to the bathroom because I didn't want anyone to see me crying. I go to the bathroom and I let it out. This was the first reality of my entrepreneurial journey that really just hit me in the gut. And I was like, what have you done? So I got my cry out. What you gonna do? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get up tomorrow. I'm gonna put my pride to the side. I'm going to McDonald's. I'm going to Burger King. I'm going to rallies. And I'm applying for a job. Because in my head, I was like, I need something now. Something is better than nothing. And I figured it'd be easier to get one of those jobs than trying to get some high-paid job and have to go through no, I need something tomorrow. So I get up. I get dressed. And I have this conversation with myself. Put your pride up, bro. Your family needs you. You need some money. So get up, get in the car. I drive in Madison, and I'm driving to McDonald's. Before I turned into McDonald's, something popped in my head. Start at the Star Press first, then come back to McDonald's. So I went to the Star Press, went to the lady at the counter, and I said, can you call up to the Star Press newspaper and see if your editor is in? She said, yeah. She called, he wasn't there. She was like, give me your name, number, whatever. I'll give it to him, make sure he gets, no you won't. So I'm about to walk off. This guy walks through the door. She said, he works at the Star Press, maybe he can help you. So he comes over, what do you need? So hey man, I just moved back to Muncie. I'm a broadcaster. I worked on TV for 7 years, shot, edited, delivered all my stories. I'm just seeing what y'all got. He said, come upstairs. So we go upstairs, go to a boardroom. He lets me know I am not a decision maker whatsoever. I have nothing to do with that, but I need to hear your qualifications and story. So I told him. And he was like, dude, you came at the right time because we're just now getting into online video and we don't know what the hell we're doing. I said, I'm your guy. I know all that. So he said, well, when my editor gets in, I will make a beeline to his office and tell him all about you. Make a long story short, I got the job. So I didn't have to go to McDonald's and rallies. in Burger King, which there's nothing wrong with that because I was totally prepared to do that for my family. So I got the job at the Star Press. Now I am immersed back into my career. John Tom's, put on the back burner. We're treating it like a hobby, right? And we're not really doing much with it. I work at the Star Press for 7 years. We get pulled into a meeting. We saw the writing on the wall. Journalism was changing, and it was not going back to how we knew it. We saw it coming. We get pulled into a meeting one day. Guys, you're going to be excited. This is exciting news. Well, we knew what that meant. No, it's not. Basically, they told us, every last one of you, there's guys who've been working there for 30, 40 years. Every last one of you have to reapply for a job. But here's how they put the spin on it. If you want to, some of you work in the crime beat, you've already expressed interest in working education, here's your opportunity. But you got to reapply for a job. So we knew what this was. They're trying to get rid of people. Preferably the older guys. Let's get them out of here. They have the higher salaries, right? Let's get them out of here. I stopped listening. During this meeting. My mind is gone. Here I go again. What do I do? Do I stick around for this? And if I don't, what's the other option? I decided in that meeting, I'm not sticking around for this. I'm going into John Tom's full time. I was the first one to turn in my 2-week notice. They gave us a little severance. It was really, it was a little disrespectful, but they gave us something. So here I am, once again. I don't have a job, but I have this barbecue sauce. So it's time to put my pride to the side again. I approached my friend who owned the downtown farm stand, which is an organic grocery store downtown. I said, hey, I need a job. Lathay, what am I going to do with you? You're overqualified for this. I need a job. I need a part-time job. I swept. I mopped. I filled the shelves. I cooked. I checked out grocery. People came in there. Aren't you Lathay Pegues? Yeah. What are you doing working here? I need a job. Right? One of those hard decisions that I had to make. But what happened was having a part-time job as opposed to the demanding full-time job I had with the Star Press, I had time to work on John Tom's. So that's what I did. A year came up, and I'll just say it was time for me to go from the grocery store. Here I am again, no job. Went to my partners, I said, look, this is what has to happen. If I'm gonna work for this business full time, I need some type of salary. Okay, and we had some accounts, we had a few accounts, we had some mom and pop stores that were buying regularly. We had a couple mom and pop restaurants they were buying regularly. So we had a little money coming in. We landed on $20,000 salary. I have a wife, 2 kids. Third one on the way. $20,000. It's not a lot of money. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make this work. And so we landed on $20,000. So I left the paper. I left the grocery store. Something happened. I'm gonna go back to when I left the paper. Something happened when I left that paper and I realized I'm about to swim or sink. I needed to prove to myself that I made the right decision, which meant I need something big to happen. I need to prove to myself that I just made the right decision. So a week after I quit the paper, I called Chef Lucas Miller, executive chef, Ball State University. I had been talking to Chef Miller a couple years, trying to get his business. And he finally told me, he said, Lathay, I'm gonna tell you why you cannot get into Ball State. You don't have a distributor. I was like, so how do I get one? He said, they're out there. Call them and see, tell them you're looking for a distributor. And I think I pulled on his heartstrings. During this conversation, I said, Chef, you know what? I wish you guys were set up where like 95% of your business and products come through distributor, but you set aside 5% for guys like me who are just trying to get our foot in the door. He said, Lathay, I got an idea. Let me call you back. I didn't think he was going to call me back, but he called me back. He said, all right, I'm going to tell you what I'm working on. I just met with my colleagues, and we just called Piazza Produce, it's a distributor out of Indianapolis. And we told Piazza Produce that there's a local barbecue sauce here that we love and we want, but they don't have a distributor. So what we propose to them is if they pick you up, we will promise to buy so many cases of sauce from them per year. So I'm like, okay. He said, well, we're waiting on their response. So he called me back and he said, Lathay, they've agreed. They're going to pick you up. I'm like, what? So to me, this is like, oh, here we go. Another great milestone. I was at home by myself, and when I hung up that phone, I yelled the loudest yes. I'm sure my neighbors heard me. I paced around my house. Happy tears this time. Because I'm like, here we go. This is the break we needed, right? And Ball State, I have to credit with our elevation because Chef Lucas Miller took a chance on us. He knew we were very small, and he took that chance on us, and we've been with Ball State ever since. And now that we had a distributor and they have a sales team, we can work hand in hand with their sales team to get other accounts. So that Ball State account was the one solid account we had when I was working at the grocery store, which had, that's why we had revenue coming in. So $20,000 is what we landed on. So I left the grocery store and I said, all right, here we go. I'm about to go all in. And I did. But let me tell you how hard it was with that $20,000 salary. Very hard. So what I have to do? Well, I'm a drummer. Okay. About to start gigging. Start gigging. That's a little extra money. That's gas money. Well, I have my own video equipment. Start shooting weddings. Birthday parties. Pulling in extra income to provide for my family. And I'm telling you, a lot of sleepless nights. I don't know how I'm paying mortgage tomorrow. I don't know how I'm paying the light bill tomorrow. But it always happened. Not on time, but it always happened. And so now that I have 24 hours in a day to work solely on my business, I went in. And we start working with the sales team at Piazza. And we start getting accounts here, accounts there. To the point we start getting accounts like Lucas Oil Stadium, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Indianapolis Zoo, Notre Dame, Purdue, IU. Of course, Ball State, Indiana Convention Center, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Rupp Arena. And you couldn't have paid me to think that something I created in my kitchen, you can now go to these major NFL and collegiate venues and see my sauce up there on the board. But if you think it was easy, it still ain't easy. I just had a moment not too long ago with all those accounts I just named. I just had a moment not too long ago. God, did I do the right thing? Because where we are now is still far away from where we're trying to get, right? Because where we are now is we've done a great job. Don't get me wrong. We've done a great job organically getting these Indiana businesses to use our sauce. We want more. Don't stop there. We're trying to go nationwide. So now we're at the point where we are negotiating with an international company that can take us nationwide. But that's a whole nother ball game. And here's what's crazy. I'm a journalism major. My cousin was a marketing major. My friend's a business major. We went into this no knowledge of the food business. None. Zero. So when I say we've been learning how to fly the plane while it's in the air, that's what we've been doing. But now I can walk into meetings and know the lingo and know what we're talking about, right? So I'm going to leave some time for some questions. That's a little piece of my journey. Of course, I left a whole lot out, but I hope something that I said resonates with you. Thank you.
You're going to use that mic?
Yeah.
Okay, so just repeat the question for the law.
Okay.
Who has a question?
When you had a kid, how long did it take for you to do that? When you had your kid and you was how long did it take you to do that? When you didn't have jobs at the time?
When I had my kid, I'm sorry, I really can't. I heard kid and I heard job.
When you had your kid and you was a news anchor, how long did it take for you to get your job set at the time?
So how long did it take my job when I had a kid as a news anchor? So let's see. My son was born in 98. My son was born in 98, and I landed that news anchor, my first news anchor job, when he was like 1.5. Because I started that in 2000, early 2000. So, but what happened was I had got like complacent working at the bank, and really caught up in just working to provide for my family. And that's why you heard throughout my journey, man, there were multiple moments when I had to decide that I got to walk away from this in order to get to where I'm trying to go. And it was a big sacrifice. And when he was, like 1.5, and I decided that I was going to stop working for the bank to pursue my career, bro, that was a very hard decision to make. But I felt like it was necessary in order for me to be able to focus my attention to try to get to the next level. So I hope I answered your question.
Do you feel as if having a good support system was a reason why you pushed harder to do better?
He asked if having a support system was important. Man, absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, with my wife, when I took it to her and she said, let's do it. I mean, she was the first person I needed to know that I had her support. But I knew in order to make this work, I knew we would need family help. We had kids, and so we were living in Milwaukee where we had no family. So if I was going to take on something of this magnitude, I knew we would need help, and just help with the kids, right? So that's what, and at the time, neither of us, we wanted to move back to Muncie, but I felt like it was necessary to do in order to make this work. So yeah, that support system, you have to have that, because come on, none of us can do anything on our own. We can't. And there's been, times where my wife and I had to go to Madison, Indiana to make sauce. Okay, we need somebody to keep the kids, So yeah, definitely having a support system, and also too, along those lines, even people you think are gonna support you may not, and that's okay. Right? Because a lot of people may not believe in what you're doing. I had a buddy, and he used to test me all the time, like, man, it's a million barbecue sauces out there. I mean, what makes you think you know? And I used to get mad. Like, I used to be like, bruh, where's the encouragement, But there's gonna be people like that, And it's as long as you know in your heart and in your spirit that what you're doing is gonna work and you're not gonna fail, then that's all you need. But keep those around you who do support you, and that and you only need a few. You don't have to be a whole bunch of people.
So did you ever get out from the people that were close to your support system? Like, did your wife ever doubt you? Like, if so, how did you do it?
My wife, she's never doubted me. One thing, and I think why it was so easy for my wife to say, let's do it, is because she knows if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. Or I'm gonna give it 110%. She knows that in me. So that's why it was easy for her to say that. But yeah, I mean, I joked about it when I said, I start this business, and my mom had Sweet Baby Ray in her refrigerator. My wife's mother was like, I was like, you should have bought stock in Sweet Baby Ray. The way she used to carry on about Sweet Baby Ray. But I think I had to let them know that, I didn't even let them know. What happened was they saw the growth. They saw the growth. And one day it hit them like, he's really doing this. And now they're the biggest, they're the biggest supporters and tell everybody about the sauce now. But sometimes you just have to prove to people. And it's not necessarily that they don't believe in you, but entrepreneurship is hard. And if it wasn't, everybody would be doing it, right? So you have people who may doubt you just because they don't have it in them to carry on something like that. Like even my business partners, they're still in their careers, right? But, they've even told me that I couldn't have done what you did. I couldn't have left my job, where I'm comfortable, and I couldn't have done that. So it takes a special person to be an entrepreneur. I didn't even know I had it in me until I tried it. And that's when I learned who I was, to the core. And I'm just one of those people who will never give up. I'm going down swinging. And I'm not gonna walk, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna do extra stuff to make this work. I found that out about myself. Because I used to be this person who was very, every decision had to be calculated and everything, I had to make sure. Well, in entrepreneurship, sometimes you gotta make a decision. You ain't got time to be thinking about this and thinking about that. You just gotta jump in there and make a decision. And so that's one thing that I learned about myself, man, is just I'm greedy. I'm greedy, and I'm just, everybody doesn't have that in them. But again, I didn't know that until I put myself in that situation. I hope I answered your question.
Hello. How much does self-doubt play a factor in making or breaking as an entrepreneur? And how does it go away with success?
Whew, that's a good one. So he asked about self-doubt. Oh man, look, self-doubt is very important, man, because I don't think there's any entrepreneur that can say they never experienced that. I mean, our first time out, like when we appeared at Indiana Black Expo, my biggest fear was to stand at that booth and people to be like, ugh. That was my biggest fear. And so, and also, you know, just when you embark upon something that you are not familiar with, you have no knowledge about, all you have is determination and go-getter attitude. Yeah, that self-doubt it'll kick in. But what I can say is, as the years have passed and we've been able to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish, I don't deal with self-doubt as much. But man, those early years, woo. And it's a battle against yourself. Like I write about fear, man. And fear has crushed so many dreams. And one thing I found out about fear, it is real, but usually what we're scared of doesn't even happen. It doesn't even happen. What we're anxious about, it doesn't happen, usually. So Nike got it right, man. That slogan, just do it, man. Just do it. And you're gonna hit some roadblocks, figure out how to get around it. Just keep going, because if you stop, nothing happens. It's a good question.
That's a really good word right there.
How did you determine when it was time to scale up from doing just local dealings to go on a national level?
Well, we set goals, right? And every year we work with our CFO and we set our yearly goals and where we're trying to go. And we just really feel like, so a few years ago, we really narrowed down our focus of where we want to play, because we were trying to do everything, and you can't do everything. So what was kind of happening organically is we were getting these accounts in sports, in entertainment. And so I said, why don't that be our focus? You know, so that's why we're in Lucas Oil and all those venues. And so in talking about our goals and what we're trying to achieve, I mean, like I said, we've pretty much exhausted Indiana with those accounts. And so we're like, okay, now our next step is we're trying to become a regional force. So we want Indiana and all the surrounding states, and we want to saturate those. So that's really before we go national, but we're really trying to become a strong regional force. But yeah, just, you know, setting all those goals and knowing where we're trying to get financially kind of made our decision like, okay, it's time to look outside of our backyard.
Would you consider Don?
It's on.
Would you consider yourself a leader?
She asked if I would consider myself a leader. Absolutely. And as I've looked back on my life, I've always been a leader. I mean, I didn't know that back then, but when I look back on it, I was always the captain of the basketball team. I was the lead role in plays. And even like from a relationship standpoint, like my friends, I looked back and they usually followed my lead, you know. So absolutely, yeah, I definitely consider myself a leader. And I've also known that, you know, I've learned that, you know, leaders also have to know how to follow. I have no problem with that, you know. So yeah, I consider myself a leader.
How do you keep innovating like the barbecue sauce space? How do you scale like a gold barbecue sauce? How do you keep innovating and keeping yourself relevant in the space while in kind of a slow market in the barbecue sauce area?
Good question. So you know about the product, you know about that gold, huh? So our latest sauce we came out with, it's been a couple years, but we came out with a mustard-based barbecue sauce that we call Pepper Gold. But we listen to the market, man. What we do, another part of our business is we do like a lot of events, trade shows, and during Christmas, and the customers they'll tell you what you need to know. That's why we came out with the mustard, because we kept hearing, when y'all gonna get a mustard sauce? When you gonna get a mustard sauce? We kept hearing it. And so it was like, we gotta listen if they're asking for it. And so that's why we came up with that and introduced it. Now what we're hearing is, when are you guys coming out with a sugar-free sauce? That's what we're hearing. So we gotta listen. We have to listen to that. Now, we can't be everything to everybody. And so that's a decision we're gonna have to make, whether we want to try to appease that population or just do what we're doing.
So in a previous question, you said it takes a special person to be an entrepreneur. So what would you say like the most important characteristic traits you need, especially as a young entrepreneur?
Man, you look just like my nephew. That's crazy. So he's asking me about some characteristics and traits that it takes to be an entrepreneur. Man, I'm gonna say the most important is being willing. You have to be willing to stick it out, like not give up. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're one of those people who just, when it gets tough and the pressure comes and you just try and shy away from it, it's gonna be hard. But if you're one of those people that's like, okay, this is what's in front of me, even though you might be scared, even though you might be anxious, because you will be. But if you're one of those people like, okay, this is what's in front of me, how am I about to handle, how am I about to take this on head on? If you're that type of person, man, like you have to possess that, like just that attitude, like nothing's gonna stop you. Like you have to have it. You know, you can't have a defeatist attitude, you know, going into this, because you're gonna get tried like you can't believe. You know, you are, and so. I just think that's the main thing is, man, you just gotta have that attitude like nothing's gonna stop you. That's simple. Oh yeah. Well, that's important. We were in the last class I talked to. One thing that a girl had asked me, what's like some of the tools that you kind of need to be an entrepreneur? I told her, finding mentors. Like, find you some mentors, people who have done what you are trying to do, and you'd really be surprised that, like, man, people who are successful, you'd be surprised at how they're just willing to help. They don't want anything from you. They just want to see you be successful. So, you know, find someone in the industry that you're in, or they don't necessarily have to be in the industry, but maybe they've owned a different type of business, because a lot of the same principles apply. But yeah, man, getting some mentors around you, having that support system that you talked about, you know, that positivity around you is going to be so important, you know, in trying to move forward as an entrepreneur. Good.
Yeah, we're going to do a selfie down here. My selfie skills are your great, is mine or not? Who's my selfie?